Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our February 28th Planning Board meeting. We have an expert crew, although we're a little short tonight, but we do have a quorum. Hint, hint to the town board. We do have a vacancy. Anyway, welcome, everybody. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. With one exception, where we are going to go into special session to pass a resolution. This is a work session evening, and so there'll be no public comment, but you're always welcome to observe and watch our proceedings. And we also take communications in writing on any subject that does become part of our record. I don't see any communications or correspondence this evening, but we will then move to the minutes of February 14th, 2022. Have you had a chance to review the minutes?
Yes.
Are there any corrections or changes?
None here.
All right, may I have a motion?
I wasn't present, so I don't know if you can.
You know, I think we ran into this once before. I believe you can approve the minutes.
Right, I've read them, and they helped.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Because if we go 2 weeks out, I won't be here.
Right.
So we'll have the same problem. I believe we were advised by our counsel that we can approve the minutes as presented to us. So I'll take a
I've
motion.
read them, and I watched the meeting, so I'm in pretty good shape.
Good. Okay. Why don't you make the motion?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. First item on our agenda tonight is the Old Hill Farm Solar Farm. This is a site plan and special use permit on for further discussion. Good evening.
Good evening.
Let's see what we got.
Nice to see all of you in person. My name is Catherine Honig, and I represent Hillside Solar and my family, which owns the property at 571 East Main Street in Jefferson Valley. So glad to be back before you again tonight, and we've done a lot of stuff since last time I was here, which was our public hearing, and I just wanted to review a couple of those things. We had some very constructive meetings with the two neighbors who spoke at our public hearing, Bill Beck at Club Fit and Patricia Sheehy, who's the residential house on the western border of the property. Mr. Beck remains very supportive of our project, and we've talked about his concerns, and you mentioned them too, Mr. Bach, about the trees. And so I've given to the planning department, I think, 4 different options for native shrubs that grow to around 10 to 15 feet and similarly 10 to 15 feet wide. And once I hear back from the planning department that those are okay, I'll work with Mr. Beck, and we're going to go out and figure out which trees are problematic from his perspective and where he'd like the shrubs. So I think that takes care of most of his concerns. We had a very extensive meeting with Mrs. Sheehy, and a very good meeting, and her husband, Walter, where we worked through her various issues and concerns about construction timing. We're going to change the timing of the construction so that we will fence the property, then deal with the tree screening, and then begin the construction, so there's the least amount of interruption to them, and we're going to phase it in a way that they will be happy. We also talked about moving some solar panels. So I think we've done a revised site plan, which is up here. So if you look in the upper left corner, I can't read the numbers, they're too small for me, but basically Mrs. Sheehy and her husband identified 5 rows essentially that they viewed, they hoped we could move back. So we have moved them back 20 feet and moved the fence back accordingly, which actually works well for the planting. It gives more space for those trees, and they're not quite as close to the property line. So, and we worked out with Mrs. Sheehy and her husband that, planting trees you can make a design, but when you get on site, you might have to tweak it here and there, and we're going to coordinate doing that with them there so that they can stand on their back porch and say, no, that tree needs to be 2 feet to the right or 2 feet to the left. So we were able to relocate some panels, and then on the other side of the site plan by the wetland buffer, and this was actually something we talked about on site, I think you brought it up, Mr. Bach, and this is came out of a discussion with John Tegeter. We spent a lot of time going through the site sections with him, looking at the site sections, figuring out the height of trees that we would need, and what kind of trees. So in that corner, we did a site section, which there's an enormous amount of trees under the power lines, like 76 feet of them, that sitting here today would probably block that view, but in talking to John, we're trying to accommodate for the what ifs. So what if those trees fall over? What if they die? Who's maintaining them? So we are looking at needing greater height in that area. And so we've added the green giant arborvitae, which grows at approximately 18 inches to 2 feet a year. And we're proposing to plant 12-foot trees, which should hit a height of 21 feet in about 5 to 6 years. So that corner. Oh, that's in that corner? That's down in, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong corner. Down in the corner over by the intersection of Hill Boulevard and Route 6. It's basically behind the shop, where the Carvel is behind there. We've also talked about moving some trees on the outside of the fence, on the top right where I was before, at the wetland buffer, because that will screen the fence. The privacy fence is 7 feet, but we're also thinking of planting much higher trees there too, 8 to 10 feet, to screen that and perhaps put some native shrubs in front of those trees to soften that, because that is close to, if you're standing on the bowling alley parking lot looking that direction, that's what you would be looking at. So we thought it'd be better to move the trees on the outside of the fence rather than on the inside of the fence, so that screens the fence from the property. But that's a long way of saying that we spent a fair amount of time with John going through the various site sections, and we have, I think, one more where we're just going to go there in person and see what needs to be done. And we have a range of native shrubs plus the 4 that are in our original planting, and now we've added the green giant arborvitae. And so we all recognize ourselves, the planning department, the Sheehys, that it's an art, not a science. And so when we in fact stand there, we're going to have to maybe make adjustments, but we're all on the same page in terms of what those adjustments need to be. The other issue that Mrs. Sheehy brought up at the public hearing had to do with stormwater, and we sent in an email to Mrs. Sheehy and her husband copies of the pages from our SWIP with the drawings showing that the elevations are such that there shouldn't be any erosion plan, and I provided those same documents to the town engineer for him to look at as well. The last change on our site plan, other than what I call the Sheehy changes, was we've gotten feedback from Con Ed about we have to put transformer, the pads, it's required equipment. It needs to be, you can see right there, it's a little pad. They tend to be 3.5 to maybe 6 feet. You can go low and wide or high and skinny. And we'll get, we have to get the exact requirements from Con Ed. But basically that's needed because that's near the box where we would hook into the Con Ed system. And that will be fully screened because there's a fence in front of it and then all the tree planting that we've talked about before. So no one will ever see that, and it does not produce noise, so no one will hear it either. You've seen them all around town. Wherever you see these little green transformer boxes, that's what we're putting here. We have to put one there and one in the back, so I don't think that will cause any additional disturbances to anyone. So given all of that, I think we've gotten everybody. Hopefully we've addressed everybody's concerns: the tree commission, the conservation board, the planning board itself, our neighbors, and so we're kind of at this stage where I think we're in a place where there are no adverse effects unless John wants to. If there are other outstanding issues, John will let us know. But we're hoping that we can, get a negative declaration from the board at this point in time. Am I in the right place, John?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you submit the materials that I have, and I think my colleagues have at this point, don't quite reflect the
No,
latest
this is new.
changes? Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to make
This
sure.
will be, if we'd had access to a big printer, I would have brought it with me today, but we didn't, so that's why it's on the screen. But this is the plan, and it's been emailed to the planning department, but they will get hard copies tomorrow too.
Do we need any other referral or back on these, or are we in a position to make the necessary findings ourselves right now, based upon the new submission?
I think you're in the position to make that determination. Everything that we've gone through here is, I think, has been shown that it is, that we are able to mitigate such things as the view sheds, the stormwater. I think Dan can speak a little bit more in depth to the stormwater, and some of the other things. We're looking at the wetlands, but there's only very, very slight impact, if any. So I think you're at a point where you can reasonably say that this is not going to have significant adverse impacts that you cannot reasonably mitigate, given the information that you have. So
we can make a determination whether we want to do a negative deck or not, right?
you
That's
can.
all?
Yeah.
We could. I don't see why we can't.
Be in favor of that.
Any reason why we cannot do that this evening, or do we need to wait for something?
You can do that this evening, and we will produce the paper that reflects that decision. So it will reflect all of the things that we went through, the view shed, the wetlands, the stormwater, if Dan wants to add to it. That will be reflected in the actual paper that will be filed in the state.
Do we proceed that way?
Yeah, we should, because we
Wait a moment.
certainly got enough information.
Yeah, I think so, too.
Yeah.
And then,
All right.
and then within the next, I would say, several weeks or so, I think you'll get to a point where you can actually, do a decision on the whole project.
Yeah, I'm sure that the applicant would like that, but I know also that you're looking for the negative
Yes.
declaration for your own financing or
Yes,
moving
to
this
lock
thing
in some of
forward.
the economics of the project, yes.
All right. Given the sentiment that was expressed and the information we have, let me have a motion to open a special session.
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the purpose of the special session, I guess we'll do two items, but tonight on the Old Hill Solar Farm is to basically have a motion that there is no adverse environmental impacts to this project.
Declare lead agency first.
Oh, we haven't ever done that? Okay. The motion to have the planning board declare the lead agency.
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bingo.
Second is to basically adopt a negative declaration on this project, that it has no adverse environmental impact as presented.
Motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay.
So we'll be working with the planning board in the interim, and as John said, I'm sure I'll see you again shortly. And hopefully we'll get to an approval.
Is the, I know when we did the sidewalk, the ice house, which I think is down by the road, is that still going to
Yeah,
remain?
that's nothing, we removed it so that we won't be near it. It'll
Right.
be, the fence will be on the other side of it. Nothing will touch it.
Right. Great building.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm going to depart from the agenda because we are now in special session and we can take up another resolution, and this pertains to a matter on Summit Street where there is a road spur that dead ends between two properties that don't access that piece of road. It's a paper road, I believe. And the resolution before us tonight are being asked essentially to modify the subdivision plan
That's correct.
to eliminate that unimproved portion of Summit Street.
So I have a couple of missives here to add, if
Go ahead.
you want me to read them.
Yes.
This would be down near the end, right before the last whereas, and I suggest it reads, whereas pursuant to section 195-1A, 3, and 6 of the Yorktown Town Code, the board finds and determines that the file map entitled Depot Plaza section of Yorktown Heights shows right-of-ways that dead end at the southern portion of the map, and whereas the right-of-ways were configured in such a way as to facilitate future development south of the development shown on said map, and whereas the board finds and determines that the right-of-ways are no longer valid extensions, as development south of these right-of-ways have continued in a manner that precludes viable usage of said right-of-ways, and therefore be it now resolved that this unimproved right-of-way of Summit Street between, I think it's Montrose, but we'll correct that if it's not, and the southern border of said plat is hereby abandoned. And be it further, then it continues on that the filed map for D Plaza section of Yorktown Heights be deemed amended accordingly.
And this is just one street, not the other,
It's just the one street.
none of the others, okay. Any comments or questions?
I have no comment.
Does this require any kind of modification to the deeds of the homeowners? Do they take,
I think what'll happen is that the town will do a quitclaim deed of some sort, and then the rights of the deeds of each property owner already has certain rights to the center line, acknowledging that there's limitations because it's a right-of-way. Now there will be no limitations.
got it?
Okay, so that's helping the property owner.
Yes.
Okay, I'm for
Taking
that.
something that's not necessary off the books.
Okay.
So a motion to approve this resolution as presented and with the additions as John recited.
Make a motion.
Second that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so this passes. There's no other business that we have to tend to in that sort. I'll have a motion to close the special session.
Motion to close special session?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We proceed to the work session agenda item number 4, which is the Kiawan Solar. This is a site plan and special permit at 716 Kiawan Road. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Okay, perfect. All right, you all know me, Julia, representing EcoG, Fariha, our new junior project manager. So wanted to give a few updates. There are actually no updates to the site plan, so this is the same one that we showed 2 weeks ago, but thought it would be good to have for reference. So since that planning board meeting on February 14th, we've made progress on a number of items. We had a meeting with the Conservation Board on February 16th. We received additional memos from the Conservation Board and Tree Conservation Advisory Committee. We also, EcoG, along with our stormwater engineer, met with Dan Ciarcia last week to discuss the stormwater measures. We've also submitted our MS4 permit and the associated fee to the engineering department, so all that paperwork has been filed. As a result of all those meetings and the memos we received, we're working on a few final items. I'm hoping final items. The first is we're improving our stormwater management plan to include level spreaders. That was the biggest feedback we received from our meeting with Mr. Ciarcia. The proposed stormwater management plan already meets the DEP requirements for the city. It ensures zero change or actually improved peak flows post-construction. But the concern was there wouldn't be the same type of flow over the ground area underneath the arrays. The level spreader should address that to sort of spread out that stormwater and make sure it's either infiltrating or being caught and directed towards the new stormwater catch basin. The Conservation Board had expressed a little bit of concern about water quality with that catch basin. They had said that it's very close to the wetlands and were concerned if there is overflow into the wetlands. That should not happen. The stormwater engineer has sized the basin so that there's no overflow in the extreme rainfall event, which is, in this case, a 1-inch rainfall event. So it's sized for that extreme event, so we don't expect any overflow there, so no water quality concerns. Few comments to address for the Tree Conservation Advisory Commission. They noted that we had 2 remaining trees on the plan that were non-native. Those are being replaced with 2 native species. We're also interspersing more white pine along with the arborvitae along the west side to ensure continued screening, but more diversity. We will update this landscaping plan and submit it to you soon. I don't have that ready this evening, so you should expect that later this week. Finally, to address the remaining tree conservation comments, we will be providing the diameter rest height measures for all the trees in the landscaping plan, and we'll also calculate a mitigation ratio. But I do want to emphasize that EcoG's mitigation plan involves planting trees and shrubs per the landscaping plan. Part of that is for screening, part of that is for mitigation, as well as making a payment into the tree bank fund. This is for a few reasons. Really, what we've come across at this point is with the number of trees that are being removed, we are planting a number of trees and shrubs, but with it being a functioning farm, wanting to leave some open space for the Cochran family to continue to use, we just don't have additional space on site to plant more trees for mitigation. So we're offering a payment into the tree bank fund. We are willing to increase that payment to $21,300. We'd originally offered a bit less. We had offered a payment $100 per each tree. The Tree Conservation Advisory Commission noted that there's also protected woodland, and they've asked us to account for that. We're willing to increase the payment, but unfortunately we can't do more mitigation than what we've already proposed on site. It simply does not fit. And finally, we did submit a memorandum to the Planning Board, which I'm sure you've all received, requesting that a decision be issued on the project at the upcoming meeting if we were able to address all these items, which, as I've said, they're all in process. We expect to resolve all of them over the course of this coming week. So I'm hoping we're able to get that decision on March 14th. And I believe that is it for today.
Any comments?
No comments.
Any questions?
She covered it all.
I had a question. I don't know if it's up in the top. There's a wetlands identified in the upper left-hand section of the map, and I was just wondering what the distances between the wetland boundary and the improvements that you're making are up there.
Yes, so the
'Cause
buffer...
it wasn't clear to me. I wanted to. Maybe you can just go over that, okay?
Sure. So from the wetland to the fence around the array is 25 feet. And then from the fence to the beginning of the panels is either 10 or 16 feet, depending on which side you're looking at. So it's either 35 feet or upwards of 45 feet, depending on which side of the wetlands we're looking at. That was raised with the Conservation Board
Right.
at an earlier meeting. They said that they would defer to the DEP ruling on whether that is acceptable. The DEP at their site visit had no concerns about it because they don't consider the fencing or panels to be a significant impervious surface addition in the wetland buffer. So we don't anticipate that becoming an issue, but we have not been able to go through DEP review yet, so not certain.
Okay, and the Tree Commission's memo of February 18th, I know you covered a number of points this evening. Are you going to respond formally to their concerns and
Yes.
put forth another memo of your own?
Yes, we're waiting for the updated landscaping plan so that we can submit all of that at the same time, but yes.
Okay. Any other concerns? Where are we at now? John?
We're at the end.
I know. I know.
Finally.
Where I think we'll draft up the resolution and the wetland permit and the stormwater permit for you to
Next
consider.
time.
You know, we'll have probably conditions such as the screening plan to the satisfaction of you guys, which means we'll just double check and triple check before it comes back to you for signature, a set of plans.
Sure.
And we'll work with them, and I'm sure, you know, I've worked with them very closely, and I'm certain that we can skin the cat the right way, but I'm always, since these are the first ones through, and that's such a prominent part of it, I just want to, you know, make sure 3 and 4 times. So,
Sure.
So it'll have conditions such as that. In terms of the wetlands, there will be a town wetland permit, but again, this is a open field that has been
Right.
farmed, so the buffer is really a managed landscape that is sometimes tilled, I believe, in some various times. So this is kind of a situation that we've seen before. We would handle this similar to what we would with a deck, where
Okay.
you are dropping some posts into the ground. Over the years, we have looked at that as kind of a cut and cover situation where the impact is very minimal, the post-construction impact is very, very minimal, and so we'll be going along those lines and didn't feel the need to, you know, bring in a consultant to do any evaluations in
Got it.
any manner, so.
Okay, good. So that sounds like where we're at.
Right? I think that's it then.
Okay,
Perfect. Thank you very much.
thank you. Next item on our agenda is number 5. It is the application for a minor subdivision called the Ryder Subdivision. This is located at 532 Underhill Avenue. Site design is the contact. Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Joe.
You got enough room there? That's
Okay. What am I doing here, John?
You're gonna download for.
Already did that, but I'll do it again.
Then you gotta open it up. Look in your downloaded files. There's a little.
Is that you moving the mouse up there already? I think you're connected already, what?
No, no, that's me.
Yeah.
Oh, so now I could just bring up my, my stuff? Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're all set, you're already connected.
okay. Okay. So the last time we were before you, we talked about two different concepts for this project. One was this one, which is before you, which is the desired one by the client, and that was keeping one house back and one house forward over the footprint of the original house that was demolished on the property. The second had both houses pushed up into the slope. The board agreed that this plan had less impact on the slopes and disturbance by keeping this house on the left forward. So this is the plan we went with. So at that time, we didn't have a mitigation plan or whatnot together. Since then, Steve Marino from Tim Miller Associates has put together a mitigation plan. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here tonight to get into the details of it. But in essence, if you recall the site, this area that's in yellow, which is the wetland area, it's over the years it's been a maintained lawn area for the original residents, and it gets cut all the time. So what Steve is proposing is to overseed it. Do some tilling, overseed it, and let it naturally become a wetland area again. It'll take several years for it to achieve what it needs to do, but that's the plan that he has, and he'll be able to explain that at the next time that we're together. So at this point, the only thing we're looking to do is get a PIH set for this, and we're good to go at that point.
No reason not to.
No issue.
The next one would be on the 22nd of March.
Is this the one what we got the notice in? Yeah. So let's just take a motion to ratify the advertising of this for the 14th, because it actually happened, because otherwise, if we waited till today, we wouldn't have made it for the 14th. So authorize and ratify the advertisement for a public informational hearing. Motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So you got the hearing
Okay, good.
on the 14th.
Thank you.
Did Conservation Board see this?
Wednesday night,
Oh, good.
we'll be there.
221.
Okay.
Shit, I'm looking at the wrong
Right.
thing.
Any other concerns or comments on the board? John?
Not at this time.
Okay. That's good.
Okay.
Number 6 on the agenda is Martino Contracting. This is located at 286 East Main Street. It's an application for a site plan.
Site plan and subdivision?
And so, yes.
Right. So, the last time you officially saw this, it was a more aggressive plan. It had 2 buildings on it. It had, the main building was much larger than the one we're showing now. And the building was turned parallel with the street. Again, it was a larger building off in this corner here, the northwest corner of the area zone country commercial. There was a second building. The owner has since decided he didn't really want to go that big, and he was looking to do something smaller in size, which is the plan that we've come up with here. I'm sure you all know Martino Landscaping. You see their trucks all over the place. They do most of the lawn maintenance in this area. So this is the base of their operation currently. There's a small building there now that's really not suitable for what they need. This will give them space to store equipment, to service equipment, supplies and whatnot. So the driveway comes in on the west side of the site here. It parallels the slope and makes its way up. As you can see here, there's some parking here. They're going to have a small office for the operation. And then they're going to have 4 garage bays, which are divided by those cross-hatched areas that you see there. As you get to the around the bend there and to the west, there's some parking there. That's going to be a gravel area. That's for the workers when they show up in the morning. That's where they'll be parking. In order to make this work, we will need a variance for the slope on the driveway, which is a town board action. So we will need. At
What's
some
your
point-
grade?
We have 8. It's 8%.
Uh-huh.
Where 5% is what's required on a commercial driveway.
Okay.
8% is okay for a town road, but not a commercial driveway. So with that said, we're going to need a recommendation by the planning board to for that variance when you see fit to grant that. As far as the
Before you leave the commercial property, what's the streetscape going to look like? From driving along East Main Street, if you're going to have that driveway is going to swing uphill at a grade.
right,
What are you doing on the street side?
we haven't gotten there yet.
Uh-huh.
We just want to get this in front of you, get your impressions of it. But that's something we'll address. We'll also address the look of the building in the near future also. But we're going to. I'm sure we're going to put some nice shrubbery and screening and trees along the driveway there. I don't think it's just going to be just a wide open driveway. In the backdrop to the driveway is going to be a stone retaining wall. So as you're going up on the left side of the driveway is a stone retaining wall.
Is this in the overlay district?
I don't know. Is it, John?
This, I believe, is in the overlay district.
Joe, they propose any kind of signage on the road side?
I don't know if that's necessarily
Might be
something they're
appropriate.
they're
I mean,
gonna
again-
need, but if we will show it if they decide to put that.
Yeah. Landscaping company
It's not
probably
a
do a good
retail.
job.
Where was this? Is this near Jefferson Valley Service Station?
You know Perry Street?
Yeah.
Past Perry.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, so when you come down Old 6N there, make the left, Correa is there
Right.
on the right. Then there's a small residential house in between his property and then the next property.
Okay, now I know it now.
Just past the curve there. Okay, let's talk about the
Right. So,
other one.
yeah, so the subdivision aspect of this, the back part of the property is zone R180. We're proposing to subdivide this into at least one lot, one residential lot. We can't do 2 on there. There's enough room for 2 lots, but we cannot because there's no septic area available for a second lot. We only have 1 septic area available. If sewers were to ever become available, then we could connect to the sewers. So last week it was brought to my attention about this 10-foot reserve strip. We're diving into that and figuring out what we're going to do with that. So at this point, we're not sure. If we have to, we've done an alternate where we could bring our frontage in off of East Main and bring a driveway in through the commercial site to get to the residential, which is far from desirable. It's a planning disaster to do that, but for the sake of not losing a lot, that may be the choice that we have. So, and I could show you what that's going to look like in conceptual form. So, what we're showing is, as I stated, an extension of Lakeview. The residence is up here, up on the sort of on the flattest area, and up above it would be the septic area, which we've already tested out and gotten approved by the health department. So that area is essentially the only area we have available to us for a septic system currently for the residential property.
pretty hilly, it's hilly in there.
It is, that's for sure. And that's, that's what's giving us limitations here on what we
Yeah.
can do. We received comments from the Fire Commission. They wanted to see how fire trucks would be able to access the site, the commercial site, which we're showing here on the left, and also to provide a suitable turnaround if the residential lot is developed off of Lakeview, and that shows the turning movements there. And I don't know if they've reviewed it or not, but we haven't heard anything at this point since we've submitted this revision. To give you an idea, and again, it's not the prettiest thing, and I'm not thrilled with doing this, but from the perspective of not losing the residential lot, we would still use the same septic area, okay? So this red line here would be the division of the two properties. This property would be the commercial property. This property on the left side here, connected to the upper here, would be the residential property. There would be an easement going, there would be common easements going through the two properties for access and for parking, in this case. Again, then we would bring a driveway in up along the slope here, up an existing, there's an existing traveled way right here now. We would follow that between these two stone walls and end up at a potential house site up here. So this meets the frontage requirement of 200 feet for a single-family lot in the R180 zone. And we meet the coverage minimum for, or coverage maximum for a commercial building on this site, on the country commercial site. So we, at a quick glance, it looks like we can make this work with this crazy plan. But
Where's your frontage?
so it's right here, John.
Split the lot different.
That's for the commercial site?
No, that would be for the residential. Here's the residential. Here's the commercial frontage. Like I said, it's not pretty and it's not good planning.
Yeah,
But-
you're just showing that you can get the frontage, right?
Yeah, I'm just showing we can get the frontage. My goal would be,
I'm not really seeing it here, but that's okay, we'll get to it.
right, my goal would be, if we cannot get access through Lakeview, is to go for a variance, a frontage variance, and use this as my template for that. Demonstrate
Have the
that we can
driveway
do it.
come through here
What's that?
and access the site?
There'd be no other way to do it.
He has no other street.
So you'd be coming through the commercial parking lot to get to your driveway?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's,
All right.
Nice and quiet once you get there.
You're right.
I mean, it's it's going to affect the value of the lot. It's going to affect the value of a residence there, but giving up a lot to the owner is not something he's looking to do right now.
What's the grade of that drive as we stand now? Is it meeting anywhere near code?
Which drive, John?
The drive that's the traveled way that you would propose to,
The traveled way?
Yeah.
I think I have.
well, what can you get in there? Can you
Oh, I
get
could-
something anywhere close to code, or?
Oh yeah, yep.
Okay.
I don't have that, but we do meet. We do have a driveway that makes code. This is the travel way I'm talking about right here.
Yeah.
This one here.
Is access via Lakeview your preferred way?
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it does two things. It makes it easy access. Number two, all we heard the last few times, and we heard it from the from the fire department. The town has no way to turn their vehicles around there. The fire department has no way to turn their vehicles around there. They want us to provide a way to turn, if we're doing our plan, they want to be able to turn around the vehicle, which is what we demonstrated in that other plan. So, to me, it goes beyond, beyond just which is the better access. It also provides Lakeview with a safe way for fire trucks to turn around, or even town highway department trucks to turn around.
Large vehicles, nobody can turn around up there unless you got a small car.
Yeah.
So-
Otherwise, you're going in everyone's driveway.
But you'll be, so you're proposing that the town trucks and vehicles, emergency vehicles or what have you,
Yeah, we'll have to extend the right of way into the property.
but the turnaround will be via the driveway of one or both of the residences, is that
Yep.
right?
That's no different than what we have now.
No different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you looked into like doing at least a hammerhead?
That is, what we're showing is a hammerhead we could make that first part of the driveway part of the town right away, but that is a hammerhead as per the fire code, as prescribed by the fire commission for us to follow.
Who owns the adjacent parcels on Lakeview? Do you have that on here?
Yeah, it's on there.
It's not your client?
No. It's Anthony Amadeo owns that piece, and of course, we don't show that 10-foot reserve strip because we didn't know about it, but apparently the surveyor didn't pick it up either. So Anthony Amadeo owns that piece on the north side of Lakeview, and Matthews owns the piece on the south side.
One of the concerns I expressed earlier was the streetscape along East Main Street there. I don't know if there are any long-range plans or considerations to enhancing the community aspect of that area under the overlay district, but I would hope that there could be some potential for, if there's a sidewalk or if there's some kind of development along there that would be more cohesive than just putting a warehouse type thing in, or at least give some consideration to what might be happening in the future along there. So that's a concern I have in a general sense. It may not affect what you're doing up the hill, but along the bottom adjacent to the road
Yeah, I mean, we're
needs to be given some thought, I
okay.
think.
Yeah, and we're listening.
Is there enough room on the bottom to put a 4-foot drive, walk?
To extend the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Yeah, the area is there.
And it looks like
You have a
there's
pretty good shoulder there along that side.
looks like there's a pretty nice looking rock wall.
Yeah.
There is
That's
one.
kind of covered over with a bunch of stuff, but
Yeah, that
About the streetscape.
would
Yeah.
have to go. Yeah.
That whole corridor is foremost on the town board's mind,
So we're
as far as what it looks like. And
we're listening.
shitty
We'll,
looking fence over there.
Nice, yeah.
we'll
Okay.
do something there.
Well, we need a little
All right.
work.
What else? What do you need at this point?
Get rid of this ugly
At this
fence.
point, we're kind of.
Mess.
I'm not sure where we want to go at this point because certainly we'll take some input on what you want to do for the streetscape, but we have this issue now with the access and whether we're going to be able to get through Lakeview or not, which we don't know what we're doing with that yet.
Well, you got the same problem that the property
Yeah, of
to the
course.
north of you has.
Right, and I don't know if the town attorney has given an opinion yet on that.
He has.
He
He
has.
basically stopped the subdivision just above you, up the hill,
Mhm.
because the applicant could not demonstrate access to a town road.
And did they make full attempt to demonstrate?
They did,
Okay, so we're basically in the same spot.
yes.
Right. So then if that were the case, then I would be pursuing the angle of getting a frontage variance
And going with that
and going with that.
up the side there.
Yep.
And what leeway or what considerations do we have with a layout like that, John, in terms of saying, yes, this is an okay subdivision, or if there's issues with it?
Well, if there's issues with it that are contrary to how the all of the previous master plans and current comprehensive plan guide the town in how things should be developed, then I think that you can ask it to be changed or not get to, an approval on it, if there's no other way.
And that information that you're referencing, I guess, is in the, I guess we can do a memo on that or get some guidance.
Well, yeah, and I don't know how this will look like for 2 lots that are coming down to Route 6N yet, right? You haven't even done a plan like that, correct?
For 2 lots?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do 2 lots.
But you can't get the second lot up onto Lakeview Road anyway. You can't get anything on Lakeview Road.
Correct, and,
Right.
and a second, when you say second lot, you mean the 2 residential lots?
Yeah.
Right, but a second residential lot isn't gonna work unless there's sewers anyway.
No, I understand that,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that you would have to bring up that driveway all the way from Route 6, from East Main Street for the house that's the most northerly home. We haven't seen a plan for that yet.
Right.
You'd also have to take into account that it's going to eventually serve 2 units. No?
Yeah, no, I'm not looking at it that way.
Okay, so
It's either, at this point, if we cannot get the access off of Lakeview, it's only 1 residential lot. And it would be, we'd put the house on the lower, area, not in the upper area.
Okay.
So the house would be more mid-lot than it would be
Yeah.
north on the lot.
Right. And so, a big question that we spoke about a little while ago is whether or not it's appropriate to have a residential lot being accessed through a commercial site.
Okay.
And, you're setting up
I don't like it.
a type of value situation that is challenging already.
I think you'd be setting a precedent too.
Look, that was just a quick look at it.
Mm-hmm.
We may need to manipulate the location of the building and split off the driveway, the residential driveway, to go behind the back. I'm just telling you it's possible.
Okay.
That's all I'm telling you. It's possible. And if that's the direction we're going to go in, then that's what I want to pursue. If going Lakeview is closed off to us, then I want to pursue going for
Listen,
a frontage variance.
I'm not the town attorney. You should speak to him on the issue because he did a lot of work on it and he did research.
Right.
And he'll tell you. And it's better for you to have that discussion with Jim than with us.
Understood.
So the town couldn't, I'm thinking back to that situation, but the town, in this case, couldn't agree to extend Lakeview Road into that property and give it essentially
You remember what the problem is? Each end of the 4 roads up there has a 10-foot reserve strip that never went into the town's hands. So they can't easily do it.
Unless they take it.
Yeah.
It's not on the tax rolls, by the way. None of those are.
those 10-foot strips.
That's why it didn't show up, because it's really not on any tax map anywhere.
So it doesn't belong to the
Surveyor
property
didn't
owners.
pick it up, it's because he didn't pick it up on the poor plat that exists from 1929 or
The
whatever.
claim was Lester Perry laid out that subdivision, and the claim is that he kept those little strips to himself, and they passed by operation of his will to Mr. Modio.
And
That's about as far as I know.
they're now expressly prohibited in our code.
Right.
And we know for sure that that's the situation here? Is that what we've uncovered?
That's what the town attorney told us. But it's not our place to make title determinations of those things. But at the last time this came up with the Hansman subdivision, he said this subdivision can't proceed as presently constituted because they don't have access to get in there.
Okay.
Anything else on this?
Mhm.
John? Okay.
Okay, good.
Don't go away. You've got the Grassage Major subdivision. This is number 7 on our agenda. This is located at 3319 Stony Street. A 10-lot subdivision on 8 acres is proposed in the R120 zone. Okay.
So there's 2 things I want to talk to you about on this. We did this alternative plan here, and First of all, from when you last saw this plan, and there was a desire to get the two lots that fronted on Stony Street to kind of not have the backyards directly facing Stony Street. So the current plan, this layout that we're showing is what we came up with. So they're not, the houses are cocked somewhat or rotated somewhat, and they're not directly on
Yeah.
Stony Street, which I think is a nicer plan. And it works out just fine, so we're, we have no issue with doing that. The other part of this plan that's important is that Steve Marino has identified, and up in the left here, there's a list of trees that he felt were significant trees to be saved. And just to go around, just to show you where the trees are, these circles are the trees that he's designated. So what he's recommending is, and that would be here, let's look at lot 1. We're going to pull this house forward almost to the setback line in order to protect these two trees. On lot 3, we're going to push the house back almost to the setback line, which crimps the rear yard a little bit, but it looks like there's still, a good amount of room in that area there. On lot 4, so if you recall, the stormwater area is in the back here. We have a huge bank of infiltrators back here, so we can't go any further back. So here are the two trees. So here we're going to take the house and rotate a little more towards Stony Street and push it back. Lot 5. So it looks like lot 5. We're flipping the driveway on the other side and rotating the house. Again, now it's again parallel with Stony Street. And those two trees are 220, 235, and 236, which are a 38-inch sugar maple and a 31-inch basswood, which I don't know what basswood is, but that's what it is. Now, so this plan is looking to protect those two trees there, and doing that by flipping the driveway on the other side of the house, and again rotating the house. And I'm sorry, I should have pointed out the dash lines are the alternate locations.
But if you're talking about lot 5?
Yeah.
But if you didn't rotate the house, you could maybe accomplish the same thing, but having front-loaded garages?
If we put the garage here, you mean, John, or flip the garage on that side?
Yeah,
that's
flip the house.
Yeah, that's a possibility. We could do
the
that.
front loading, and the front loading maybe not so bad because I think you're going to be downhill, right?
Okay.
And if you stay rotated, being on the other side of the house,
5?
they won't have the same
Okay.
negative effect. So maybe that's
Okay.
a compromise that's
Yeah.
worthwhile.
That's fine.
Which one's 5 that you're
This one
talking?
right here.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no problem, John. Lot 6, you could see what we're doing there. Maybe we don't have to push the house as far back as we have it because it essentially leaves no backyard. And that's let's see what that guy is. A 44-inch catalpa. So, that's what we're looking to do. And then the last one is this one in the center of the road here, which is a black walnut, 35-inch black walnut. And in order to save that, we would have to pull the cul-de-sac back, as you can see we're showing here.
Oh.
Putting a center island in and getting the tree in the center island in the middle of the cul-de-sac. Doing that will require some frontage variances on these lots, specifically lots 4 and 7, these two here, are going to require a frontage variance. So we would need a recommendation from the planning board to go to the ZBA if that's what you desired, if you want to try to save that black walnut.
Anybody determine if they're healthy enough to?
Yeah, I mean, Steve, he's singled these trees out that he would like to see us protect those trees. I think, like I said, most of them we can accomplish. It's this one in the roadway. That's the one that will require a little bit of a change or a variance.
Any comments or questions?
I think if they could save the walnut, I would go for that.
Okay.
It's a valuable tree.
Not while it's standing.
Not while it's standing, no.
One of the questions that the planning department set in front of us to consider tonight was whether or not we want to make the connection with Shelley Street.
That's right.
And I was thinking about that. Number one, I used to live in that neighborhood off Judy Road.
Mm-hmm.
But as I was looking at the way the wetlands are being handled and the impact or not of having that connection, if that was removed, number one, it would isolate the two neighborhoods and prevent through traffic going there, which some people talked about at one of the hearings.
Mm-hmm.
It would also remove some of the impact in the wetlands if you you could move one of the houses over a little bit where the road was, number 9. Mm-hmm. And it would offset some of the wetland impact in addition. So I don't know how the board feels about something like that.
Well, yeah, I get your point. Then the house on number 9, we could slide to the west.
Yeah.
It would not eliminate any road impacts on the wetland, but
I know.
just this one here is what
A
you're
little
talking
bit.
about. Yeah.
It might give you a little more flexibility in that section to spread the houses out a bit.
We have no objection to doing that. It's one, that's less road we have to construct.
Of course.
So there's no objection to that. So we would need direction, that's all.
The question is,
Work any better for the other lots, like lot 7 would get impacted by moving the cul-de-sac, trying to save the black walnut. You'd kind of be right up in their front lawn with the cul-de-sac. Can everything shift a little west, or is that?
Well, if we're trying to eliminate any impacts or minimize the impacts on the wetlands, we're kind of the house on lot 8 is kind of fixed where it is.
Mm-hmm.
We can't slide that any further to the west. It would just be lot 9. We can easily move that whole lot to the west.
Got it.
John, what considerations are there with that connection? I know at one point the town wanted to have interior connections and to relieve traffic on some of the main streets.
Well, that's one of them. It's to relieve traffic, to have a network that you have choices.
Yes.
The people on High Point Drive will now get all 12, units coming down their road. The other thing is that there are recommendations. I don't have the numbers at hand right now in terms of the length of a dead end.
Oh.
So you don't want to produce something that is too long as a dead end that you only have one way to get in case of a dire catastrophic emergency in which you are precluded from getting down the road.
I think it's 1,000 or 1,200 feet.
Yeah, something in that neighborhood.
How long is this?
I don't know. Well, you would start from the beginning point of High Point Drive.
right,
That's where
right.
you would measure from.
Yeah. So that's something that maybe some research should be done on to make sure that it's not going in a direction that doesn't make the sense, which is one of the reasons for the eventual connections that are left on either side of this, on 3 sides of this piece of property.
Do you want to pursue or consider that?
I think we should. What do you think?
About eliminating Shelley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
If that's the better one,
depends upon the distance.
how does the applicant feel about that?
He said
He doesn't mind either way.
them out.
He doesn't mind either way, really.
Okay.
Whatever.
But I like the other adjustments I like what you made. I
Yeah.
saw I like the changes on this. I
Much
like
better
the
from
layout
last
of the back houses. It's improved, so
Okay,
it's a good direction.
all right, good. And so, as far as the High Point Drive, where are we going with that? The Shelley Drive, rather.
Well, I think we should produce, or maybe even ask Joe to produce some information about the length of dead ends and so
Yep,
on and so
I
forth.
could do
and
that. Mhm.
Okay.
And what this particular one would look like in term, juxtaposed against that data.
Okay, I could do that.
All right.
What was the original concern from the residents that they wanted that out?
Just to increase traffic. It's a dead-end street, and all of a sudden it's not.
Right.
Well, as Johnson, then you have 12 car, at least 12. The
Yes.
resident, all the residents for that property will be traveling on that road,
Yeah. And
so.
And you also have to remember, and I know it doesn't resonate when you live there, but the amount of traffic generated by the 12 homes over even the course of an hour is very difficult to feel unless you're standing out there for the whole hour. I'm not diminishing the emotional reaction of having that connection, but nevertheless, the actual number of trips that are going to be generated at the times that we see traffic in the morning and the evening, in particular, since you'll have two connections, will be, low, very, very low in the scheme of things, and not really something that's palpable unless you're actually out there, standing there, and watching them go by. And, if you're otherwise involved in something at 5 o'clock, getting into your own house, hanging up your coat or something, you don't notice those things. And that bore out when the Santucci property was developed for 22 lots. And one of the unfortunate things about that is it was required to have the one-way in and the one-way out. There was nobody wanted any other connection, so all of the 22 homes came through Gay Ridge Road. And several of the folks that lived on Gay Ridge Road were very concerned about traffic, and after it was developed and so forth, I did run into them and asked them how's the traffic, and they said, well, really nothing. Don't feel it. Don't notice it.
Okay.
So that's kind of what you have to
All right. Well, we
keep
can
in mind as well.
we can explore
Yeah.
the issue.
I think we're waiting to hear from the Fire Commission on this, right?
Yeah.
We haven't heard from them yet, so.
Well, that would be significant. Yes.
Right.
And you might also think about some traffic generation numbers and how it may reasonably be distributed, whether there's, obviously if there's one, all of the traffic generation will go through the one, but if there is two, what that distribution might be.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 5 residencies from Spruce Street to the end of High Point. So with another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, you're going to be right at the limit of that 1,200-foot
Oh, yeah.
distance.
I mean, I could tell you roughly, this is our cul-de-sac, so these are 100-foot wide lots,
Mhm.
right? So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 500. Yeah, so we're maybe at 600 feet already.
There.
Okay.
Are you still within?
All right. Well,
But then this piece right there.
let's find out.
That's
Okay.
already existing.
All right, Joe.
Good. All right. The next item on our agenda is number 8. This is a site plan for Home and Hearth located at 1750 East Main Street.
I really don't have much to add to this. I was hoping Steve Marino could be here and just give you the whole rundown on the mitigation. So, where we are now is, and the big question was at the last meeting was the storage building in the back. Could we do anything more interesting with the roof so it didn't look like a straight warehouse gabled end roof? The architect did put together something with, let me just open that for you. Adding some interest to that roof line.
Did you go to the zoning board?
No, because the building inspector said
They don't need to.
we don't need to.
Oh, he
Yes,
Took another look? Okay,
yeah,
all right.
He said it was a main use.
right.
Yeah, well, okay.
So, so you could see he's doing something a little interesting here with the center roof, center portion of the roof there to make it, to give it a little nicer appearance, because you're looking straight onto it from Route 6, right?
The earlier iteration was the one below?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where we're at. We don't need to go to the zoning board. I really wanted to be here to have Steve Marino fill you in on the wetland aspect of this. Which reminds me, so two things I forgot to do. So the town consultant has been authorized to review this on Grassage, which I didn't show you, but we submitted a mitigation plan, and on Ryder, we need to have you ask the town consultant for proposals on those two, to review those projects.
For which one?
That's got to go to the board, right?
Grassage.
Well, if you would like to do it, then we'll send it to the town board to authorize.
So why don't we develop a memo or back to them?
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Okay.
That's it. So that's it with it. He did file an application with the DEC on this. Our next move on this is to get a public hearing set up. So I would assume that you want to at least get the input of the environmental consultant before we move to
Right.
a public hearing. So I'm not going to request that tonight. And that's it. That's all I have.
Any comments or questions on this one?
No.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We got one item left, which is a town board referral, gas station special use permit. I don't think much came to us on this one, but this is the Bollinger Garage, I believe, up on East Main in Mohegan.
Which one is this, 1770?
This is BP, Jim Ryan, JMC.
Oh, come forward.
Just give me 1 second.
No problem.
I'll get out of your way.
What's 3451?
1770 East Main is the
3451 is the old Gulf Station by Pine Grove.
We don't have anything on that?
That's it, got
This one's
withdrawn.
out, this one, that's all
This is the
Is it
BP
off
on
the agenda?
6.
Okay.
in Mohegan. Where
Yeah.
Carl Bollinger
Down by,
used to have that shop, I believe.
Possibly, yeah. I'm Jim Ryan, by the way, for the record, with JMC.
Hi.
On behalf of Mohegan Lake Gas Smart Inc. That's the formal owner of it, too. First of all, I have to apologize. My computer crashed just before I left the office today,
Oh.
too. So I had to go a little old school, but I think I can just kind of walk you through.
I might be able to put your stuff up
Okay,
here, so
well, that would be great.
if I can do that.
Appreciate that, John.
It's on 6.
So essentially, they've had an incident there. There's an overhang on the building, which is about 2 feet 8 inches. It's been there for quite some time when BP took occupancy of the building.
Or not.
That has, I think, it was the third time that had been damaged by trucks coming in. It's a very narrow area between the pumps and the building and so on, too. So the change that we want to make, the building inspector said that this needed to come before the town board. All gas stations come before the town board when you're making a change. So essentially what we want to do is do the repair, but the repair we want to essentially take off the overhang on it too. There are panels, green panels on the building now. Those green panels would be reused except for the ones that are damaged. So we want to essentially put that back together. Right now I believe there's still tarps on the building too, because it has to go through the process here. We do have your board on a referral. We're going to architectural review tomorrow, and then conservation on Wednesday too, for this too. So what we're hoping to do is get a simple recommendation from your board to do this work so that we can make that change and avoid having to have it, again, damage the overhang.
So this is a neighbor of the guy we just saw, right?
I believe so, yeah.
So this is and it was a mobile station, correct? At one point?
It was a mobile station at one point, BP. But what I do, if I can just show you, so
Yes.
it's the far corner, oh, you can see it on the stick. So it's the far corner that trucks keep coming through and flipping that
I
area
see.
there
Yeah,
too.
pass it down.
So
Where do they come through?
they're coming on
Yeah, you know why? Because whoever owns that
Yes.
never built this site plan according to the approved plan.
I've seen it, it's a
Right,
mess.
which, where you
They come
see
right
that
in.
yellow hatched thing should be a sidewalk with a curb. So I think that should be what happens here. That's my sense of it.
But I
So,
believe the town board has jurisdiction over
Goes
this
on the
one.
approved site.
right, right. So what we'd like to do now,
Driving by this all the time.
again, with your recommendation, again, we need recommendations, architectural review and Aqaba and conservation too. There is a wetland in the back of the property, so we're gonna appear before them, is to take the tarp off, make the repair. They've hired an architect, they hired our office to help them with this too. Building inspector was right, this needs to come before. They started to make some changes out there. Building department stopped them from making those changes. We have to go through a process, so we're here just asking for your board to move this through with a recommendation to allow us to make those changes. I will tell you, long-term, I've had discussion with a client that they actually plan on making significant changes to this property, possibly demoing that building, moving that back, other changes too. That's in the offing right now. I haven't seen the formal, we haven't been asked to prepare formal plans for that, but right now, we just like to get this cleaned up and looking
So it's
decent.
just modifications to the building
Yes, just a modification to the building again.
and a rebranding and so forth?
No, you mean in terms of the immediate repairs? No, they'd be putting those green panels back. There's some damaged ones, but the look of the building's going to be essentially the same.
And the overhang remains
The overhang is going to be eliminated. so-
eliminated. So this picture is,
On the entire facade?
On the entire facade, too. Essentially, and again, I had a chance to see it, too. I don't think it was constructed properly with that overhang. It's basically a blocking that was attached to the building, and then they affixed these green panels to it, too. So they're going to do it the right way. Building inspector's going to look at that and review that. So, again, we just want to take the tarps off and make the repairs and move forward. Next time, hopefully, I appear before you, they're going to make some more significant changes and upgrade that whole building and property.
well, in light of your comment, John, is there anything that we want to bring to the town board's attention after this discussion?
Well, I mean, you could reference that there was an approved site plan that wasn't adhered to properly, which would have precluded some of the hits
Yeah.
that this building has taken, and
Any
we-
problems with that kind of a
No,
motion, memo?
be a smart memo.
I think we should do that.
Okay.
And again, this was prior to this owner taking possession of the
Right.
property.
It may,
too, so.
may well have been, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still a good investment,
I agree.
and it's an investment in safety of the people using it, and also safety of the building from the trucks that are coming through and banging it up.
No doubt, no doubt.
The owner is okay with removing that overhang? Because that's, I mean,
Yeah,
looking at
they want to remove the overhang to avoid having to deal with this on a.
so currently they have things like firewood and like most gas stations too, that would be.
Right.
That
They
now would
understand
be no
that.
longer covered.
No, they understand.
Pedestrians would be uncovered.
Right.
So they're just pulling back how far along are they?
To the blocking, hardly
I
anywhere.
mean, but they've taken this down already?
No.
Okay.
No, they've taken the panels down, the green panels, but the blocking is still there, and they've got some work to do. But again, we were asked to come in. I spoke with, and the architect spoke with the building inspector, and he wants it done the right way through a proper permit process. So that's what we're trying to do here.
That's always good. So I'm seeing, when I look at these elevations, there is virtually no overhang whatsoever.
It's 2.5 inches.
So the trucks will hit the building instead of the overhang.
It's a tight turn. Well, because the canopy over the pumps is high enough, obviously.
Canopy over the pumps is high enough.
It's pretty much,
Yeah.
you're right.
Listen, they ran into my building 4 times already in
Yeah.
the last 10 years.
Okay, any other comments on this? John, anything else?
No, I'll draft a memo for
Okay,
your
good.
Okay.
look.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for your time. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
I don't see any other business.
Motion to close?
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Very good.
Bingo.